Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie. You are either watching this video on my Facebook group or on my YouTube channel, which are both Lady Failte Light Healing. I am the owner and founder. It's all about the metaphysical and the spiritual. Today we're going to talk about not what I had planned on talking about, which is pretty typical with me. I got over busy and didn't give myself enough time to prepare for what I wanted to talk about, and instead of cramming it in and just kind of doing it half-assed, I decided to wait and do something else today. But I'm gonna go ahead and invite some people in to the live, so that's just gonna take a second, and then we'll do our normal morning little routine. So let me get in here. Apologize for I gotta move my necklaces here. They're tapping on the screen. I've been meaning to sit here in my space and definitely do some work, and I just haven't had time. But I keep telling myself we're gonna have a long winter of plenty of time. I'll be stuck in the house all weekend, so it will get done, and to not try to stress out too much about it. But I hope everybody had a good weekend. We had went to Santa's Village on Sunday with some of our kids and all 4 of our grandkids. And it was also my husband's birthday. So it was a really nice day, and the weather was really good. It was like, it started to rain just as like we were getting in the car, but for the most part it was like around 70-ish, and the sun was out, so it wasn't super hot, it wasn't chilly. It was really comfortable most of the whole day, so it was really just a nice weather day, but it was a nice overall day. And I was supposed to talk to you today about Virgo, which we will talk about on Thursday. And the reason I didn't have time to get ready for it is I went to, it was really interesting. We went to, my husband and I and a friend of mine, she's also in this group, went to a medium, and he did like a whole group. It wasn't a one-on-one thing, it was a group that he did, and I think there was 20 of us there. And he just does what mediums do and gives some messages and things like that. But I didn't plan on it going as long as it did, which was fine. I'm not complaining. I just didn't plan on it going that long. And so we didn't get home till 10 o'clock last night, and we hadn't eaten, so we were just scrounging around the house because neither one of us wanted to cook anything or wait for anything to cook. So like I had some fruit and some wheat thins, and I don't know what he even grabbed. Wasn't much, but yeah, and then we pretty much went to bed. So I didn't really have time to get ready for talking about Virgo, and I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really want to half-ass it, so decided to just push it off. Part of me wasn't even going to come live this morning, just because, again, I'm tired and I've got a headache that I've had for about a week. All my own fault. I have not been doing a very good job at adulting lately. I got my tea here. I'm just going to put some honey in it. Not been good about staying hydrated. I've not been good about taking my vitamins. So all of this is completely my own fault for not feeling well. Just putting some honey in my tea here. I grabbed the tea packet to go over what was in it. I really do have too much stuff here. When you can't really move things around because you're going to drop something and break something else. But and I'm not promoting any particular brand of tea or anything. This is just one I got in the mail, and I'm drinking it this morning because it has a lot of cinnamon in it, and cinnamon is good for pain. So, like I said, I've kind of had this. It's not a horrible headache, but it's just a headache that like hasn't really gone away. But again, I know it's from being dehydrated. But this tea, it's can't really see it, but there's like a lot of stuff in there. It's black tea, clove, cinnamon bark, cinnamon leaf, orange peel, ginger, cardamom, lemongrass, coriander seed, and black pepper and nutmeg. So I picked it because it had the cinnamon in it, but it's really nice. Like it's really like a nice, the nutmeg and the ginger and the orange peel and cinnamon and clove. It's kind of a nice fall scent that it's giving off. And I'm off schedule today, so it's like just all over the place. It's kind of crazy, but I'm off schedule today because I have a dentist appointment at 9:30, so I didn't have to be to work. I'm just going to go in after. All right, so I didn't pick a real long conversation topic for today. Get my smudge going here. This one doesn't want to light. Got a little bit going there. And smudge myself. Really get your hands. That's always like a big thing for me. I don't know why. Like everybody else is like, oh, you got to smudge your whole body, under you, behind you, which is all great. I agree. But I'm not, again, very good at doing all that stuff sometimes. I have to slow down and make more time to do more stuff and take better care of myself. But one of the things I really suggest is smudging your hands. Smudge will get rid of any negative energy, but it's also antibacterial. And we touch a lot of things, and we touch people, and we touch things that people have touched. And so we pick up a lot of germs, and we pick up a lot of energy through our hands. A little Palo Santos there for you. Right. Get our candle lit. We'll get our card pulled, and then we'll... So we got our candle, which is, this month's candle is Balance. And Tuesday, so it's a gemstone card that we're going to pull. I told you guys last week I got a new, I got a deck of tarot cards. It's the first deck of tarot cards that I've had, and it's going to be a long time learning them. It's a lot more difficult than the oracle cards. So I was thinking next year what I'll do, I think, is pull a card out of the tarot deck. And maybe we'll, because we've used the gem card and the chakra cards all this year, so maybe we'll retire those for now and go with the tarot cards, but it's still kind of all a work in progress. So we are going to put back the smoky quartz And again, my smoky quartz is up there. I can't reach it right now. Trying to work on getting a lot of my crystals on down here instead of up there, because I can't reach them and talk to you about them. Or I can talk to you about them, but I can't show them to you. I've got a lot of them here, but not all of them. I still do have a few up there. So, and smoky quartz is one of the ones that's up there. All right. Oh, these are just all over the place today. This one keeps coming back. So we're going to pick that one. I don't know if we've pulled this one before. We might have. Can't remember. I can't remember what I did 10 minutes ago, so I can't remember what cards I pulled. All right, so this is Shiva Lingam. Grab my little bowl here. It's right on top. All right, so that's what I want. Sorry, something on my tongue. Still there. Yeah, this is what I want, is my crystals down here. So when I pull this card, I can actually show you what a Shiva Lingam looks like. So that is a Shiva Lingam. They don't always look exactly the same, as you can see in the cards. They, you know, the stripe goes different ways, or there might be multiple stripes. All right, that is Shiva Lingam. I have a couple of them. All right, so glasses off so I can read it for you, and then we'll get started. All right, so Shiva Lingam is really good for if you're doing any kind of Kundalini work, vitality, rebirth, or oneness. It does go to your sacral chakra. So Shiva Lingam is the stone of sexual energy or prana. It opens the Kundalini, awakens passion, treats impotence and infertility, and spurs creativity. You have pulled this card because it is time for your sacral liberation and discovery. Sometimes I have a hard time. I'm so blind, I apologize. Because it is time for your sacral liberation and discovery, or creative inspiration. Meditate with Shiva Lingam to welcome a creative breakthrough, ignite sexual magic, and align with the divine. So yeah, people usually get a little weird when you start talking about sex. But your sacral chakra is all connected. So your sexual energy and your creativeness, I mean, that's where you create life, and that's where your creativity comes from. Not just for creating life, it's where your creativity in general comes from. So if you're looking to be creative in any kind of way, a craft, a project, something creative at work, I don't know, whatever you're trying to create, you would want to work with the sacral chakra stones, and Shiva Lingam is one of those stones. But yeah, I know when you talk about Kundalini and sex and stuff, sometimes people get a little awkward, but it's all tied in together in your sacral chakra. So just working with these stones doesn't mean like you're going to become a sex maniac or anything like that. It's just going to awaken your creativity. If you're trying to awake your sexual self, this stone is good for that as well, but it's not it's not just that. It's all about creativity. So if you're like, I'm good with the sex thing, I'm not touching that stone. It's good for other stuff too. But yeah, if you're really trying to open up your creative channels, basically get your juices flowing, but it doesn't necessarily just mean sex-wise. Get that creative juices flowing. All right, so that is that, and I will take a picture of that and get it posted up on the group for you. So today, what I have is really kind of short. Like I said, just because I didn't really plan to talk about any of this. I was going to talk about Virgo, but I'm trying to teach myself to kind of let things go, not beat myself up, which is kind of weird because when I was at the when I went to the medium last night, one of the things he said was that I needed to have more fun, which I've talked about that in past videos. Like I've talked about that I'm working on my anger and my wound, and I spent all this time focusing on not being angry, and I said maybe what I need to do is just focus on having more fun instead of focusing on not being angry. But he told me last night that I take myself way too seriously and I need to just kind of have fun and laugh. So it was kind of interesting that he said that. He also told me to quit my job and do what I want to really do. And first of all, I would be poor. Second of all, I think my husband would probably divorce me. So I don't think that's exactly how it's going to happen, but you know, I'd like to think that maybe at some point in my life that will happen. But it's not going to be this week. I'm not going to go into work today and quit my job. But so it's weird how it all ties together. So today I decided we were going to talk about anger. And I thought, you know, it was actually kind of fitting because last week we talked about beauty and shadow. And so today we're going to talk about anger and shadow. Probably going to hear a lot about shadow over the next couple of months. And again, shadow is not evil. It is not dark. It's not demons or Satan or anything like that. Your shadow is you. So, you know, we talked last week before, about like ego and pride and judgment and some of those things that you kind of need in your life, but you have to kind of keep them in balance. So today I wanted to talk about anger and shadow. And shadow, again, just a quick recap, is the parts of yourself that you have repressed, parts of yourself that you deny, parts of you that get you in trouble, parts of you that might be embarrassing to you. That's all shadow. So if you don't want to tell somebody something about yourself because you're going to be embarrassed, that would be part of your shadow. But anger is really the most, I don't want to say the most potent. That doesn't really seem like the right words. But yeah, it's the top dog, I guess. So it can really take over your shadow, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I'm off here somewhere. But yeah, it's the parts of you that you've been told, like we don't talk about that, like sex. You know, we don't talk about that. That's something that, you know, nobody wants to know about, nobody wants to talk about. Well, you know, some people want to talk about it. It's not on my number one list to talk about, but there are people out there that do want to talk about it. There's people out there that are very open about their sex lives. That's not me, mostly because I just feel like what goes between me and my husband is between me and my husband. Not so much because I'm embarrassed, just because I think our private life is private. It's between us. It's something that we share together. But yes, anger can be one of those things that definitely gets you in trouble. But there's that naughty side that can get you in trouble too. But today we're going to kind of focus a little bit more on the anger. Again, I've been working on this since probably March, when I kind of realized what my triggers were and things that were kind of they pushed my buttons kind of thing. So when I use the word trigger, that's basically what I'm referring to is somebody has pushed my buttons. They have set me off, whatever you want to call it. And I realized where a lot of that anger comes from, and then what I kind of have to do to work with it. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about a little bit today. So, but before we get there, I can't even read my own writing. It's horrible. I just wrote these notes like 20 minutes ago, and I can't read what the hell I wrote. So anger, if you don't address it, which I spent, well, like I said, I've been working on it since March. I've known for a long time that I've had an anger issue, that like when I get mad, I get mad. So I've known this for a while. This was not something new that I just learned, but learning what's going on. But anyway, I've been angry for a long time. Pretty much as long as I can remember, I've been angry. So, and I didn't really know where that came from, but we'll get to that part. But anger, when it's not taken care of, can show up in all kinds of ways. It can show up as just pain. Sometimes you just have pain. If there's people out there that have like fibromyalgia, well, pretty much any disease can be linked back to a chakra and an emotion and something that you can work with. But I'm just trying to kind of think of ones that would be for pain. Is like fibromyalgia. The reason I think of that is because it's kind of one of those doctors don't really know why people get it. There's no really rhyme or reason for it. It's kind of just what I call a floating pain. Like one day it might be this that hurts, one day it might be this that hurts, might be one day like everything hurts kind of thing. I don't have fibromyalgia. I know a couple people that have it, but I don't really know the disease really well. So if I misspoke, I apologize. But that was just the first thing that came to mind. So it can show up as pain. It can show up as disease if we don't take care of it. Part of my anger that I deal with is linked back to my throat chakra. So it's my sacral chakra and my throat chakra. That are my two chakras that where my anger is stemming from. Well, not stemming from, related to, attached to, linked to, however you want to say it. And part of that is because when I'm angry, I don't speak up. And that doesn't mean like yell and scream and cuss and call names. It means I don't speak up for myself sometimes when I get angry. And so that's my throat chakra. And I've had a lot of really bad problems with my neck. I've had one lump removed already over here. It was a pretty good sized scar that I've got right there. The doctors did a really great job and put the scar right in the natural line of my skin, my neck, so it doesn't really show too much. So happy about that. But I had a lump removed there. I had a lump a couple years ago, well, actually quite a few years ago, behind my ear that I had to go get biopsied. That ended up being fine. I do have 2 lumps on my thyroid right now. So that's all manifesting right here. I have a lot of esophageal problems that I deal with. So again, it's all right here, and that's all from holding that and not speaking my truth. Again, it's not yelling at people or swearing at people. It's basically just not standing up for myself in a way that's productive. Like when I get angry, I just get defensive, and like that's actually not really being very communicative. It's just responding. It's reacting. And so what I'm trying to learn to do is to respond instead of react, and speak up for myself, but in a way that's going to be helpful for me and the other person, and not just me, like claws coming out and being like, okay. Because I kind of I kind of think of it as like a cat. If you've ever backed a cat into a corner, it gets a little defensive, and then what happens is it actually gets aggressive because it's scared. So that's kind of how I am. Like when somebody comes at me with something that makes me angry, the claws come out and I kind of jump. It's not really very productive. It doesn't really help anybody. Sorry, I feel like I have to sneeze. So, yeah, so it can manifest in a lot of different ways. So, I always tell people, like, if they're just starting this work and they want to work on something, and they don't really know what chakra to work on, or they don't really know what's going on with them, that's one of the things that you can kind of use is tell me where the pain is in your body. Like, listen to your body for a minute and tell me, like, where is the pain? Do you have stomach problems? Do you have digestive problems? Do you have throat problems? Like, do you have headaches? Like, what's going on with you? And then you can kind of maybe start there to kind of get you going onto what you need to be doing. So again, you know me, I like my little lists, but I did really write like a little list. I wrote 3 words for you today. But number 1 is just to identify. So that was really like the big thing for me. Like for the longest time, I just really didn't know where any of my anger was coming from. I didn't know what was going on. And so it's kind of like, well, how can you fix it if you don't know where it's broken? Like you can't find the crack. So how can you fix it if you can't find the crack? So that was where my natal chart came in. And I know I've said this a million times, but if you don't have your natal chart, please get your natal chart done. And if you don't know where to start, message me and I will help you. But I found out where my wound is, and that is where your Chiron is placed. And again, if you get your chart, I can help you find that. I can help you interpret that and tell you kind of what that means. But that was like a big thing for me, is to find out where my Chiron was, and what my triggers were. And so it goes back to not feeling good enough, feeling like I needed to compete, feeling like when somebody comes at me, the best example right now is my supervisor. When she comes to me and she's like, you didn't do this and you didn't do this, or why did you do this? I get very angry very quickly and very defensive, because to me, I work very hard, and I work very hard to make sure that everything is done correctly. And when she comes at me and says, you didn't do this right, again, those claws just come out and I pounce, and that's not productive. So, but identify your where your anger is coming from. And that's really, really like hard. I don't want to say it's the hardest part, because it was not the hardest part. I just didn't know where to get that information from, because I didn't have anybody to tell me where to get that information from. And so when I started taking my classes and we were talking about astrology, and I got my natal chart done, and this was all explained to me, and it was like somebody just turned on the light bulb, and I went, yeah, that's it. That's what's going on. And it just really made sense to me. It just like instantly when it was said, it was like, yeah, I get that. That's exactly what's going on. So I don't want to say that that's the hardest part, but if you don't know where to get that information, it's hard. So if you're just sitting there trying to figure out where your anger came from, that can be pretty hard, because sometimes our anger stems back to childhood traumas. It can be an adult trauma, but usually it's more child trauma. In my case, it was past life trauma. So that was really why it was really hard for me to find that crack, because it wasn't even in this life for me. It was what was going on in my past life that carried over with me, about not being good enough and not doing enough. And so I feel like I need to always be doing more. I need to be taking care of people. I need to be fixing things. I need to be, I need to be better all the time. And again, when then somebody makes a comment, not even necessarily to imply that I was wrong or that I did something wrong, but when I feel like that's what is being said, whether that's what the person actually means or not, when I feel like that's what's being said, which I'm very quick to jump to that, I get very angry and very defensive. So one of the big things is identify where your anger is coming from. And if you know where your anger is coming from, you're like, yep, this is exactly where it came from. I can tell you the day that I got pissed off, and I've been pissed off ever since. Well, we can work on that too. But yeah, number one is identify. I don't want to use like disease things. That's not the word I want to use, but like the number one thing of solving a problem is admitting there's a problem, right? So I'm thinking of like the 12 steps of AA. It's kind of the same. The first step to fixing the problem is admitting there's a problem. So I knew all along that I've had an anger problem. I just didn't know where it came from. So that's kind of, it's a little bit more than admitting there's a problem. Well, you do have to admit there's a problem. You have to admit that you have anger. Everybody has anger. People deal with it differently. Some people are just angry all the time, like to everybody. Other people keep their anger all bottled up. Other people keep it bottled up until somebody just pushes that one button and they explode. Anger can look really different for a lot of different people. Some people self-medicate. Some people stay in their house and don't go anywhere because they don't want to deal with anything. So it can be very different for different people, but yeah, identify where the anger is coming from. Identify the problem, identify where the anger is coming from. And then I have for number 2, just allow yourself to be angry. We get angry. Like, we've been taught to be angry is bad. If you get angry, you're not supposed to say anything. If you get angry, I'm a big advocate of being kind to people, but you can still be angry. You can be angry and not be mean. Does that make sense? Which is what I'm trying to do right now. That's like the part that I'm trying to get down. I'm allowing myself when I'm angry to feel the anger, but I'm trying to respond instead of react. So instead of yelling, instead of getting red faced, sometimes those emotions still come up. And I've gone to my supervisor and I've said to her, I said, listen, if you come to me with something and I can feel myself getting angry, I'm going to walk away from you. And it's not disrespect and it's not to piss you off. I said, it's because I need to go sit for a minute and sit with my anger and realize what's really going on. So, and she's like, okay. But I went and told her that. I said, listen, I know I've got an anger problem and you push my buttons. And so when you say something to me and I can feel myself getting angry, I'm going to go sit with it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow myself to be angry, give myself those few minutes to be angry. But again, then I kind of got to go back and identify what was it that made me angry. Was she actually saying what I think she was saying? Because again, this is my anger, not hers. And so that's the next step, which was 3, which was to accept. So we have to accept our anger as ours. It's not her that makes me mad. I'm angry and she pushes my buttons and the anger comes out. But it's not her that makes me angry. We've got to the point where she makes me mad, he makes me mad, they pissed me off. The anger is yours. And so we have to figure out why we're angry. We have to figure out what sets us off, what are our triggers, what pushes our buttons. And then we have to learn to accept it and just allow it to be. So again, it's that balance. Like, you need to feel the anger. You need to work through the anger. But at the same time, you don't want to just be an ass. You don't want to be the bitch. You don't want to be the ass, the jerk. You don't want to be the one. For a long time, I was the lady that nobody wanted to talk to because I just looked pissed off all the time. So many people that I've met along the way have, once they've got to know me, they're like, oh, you're really nice, but I never talked to you because you just look like you were always pissed. And I'm like, no, that's just my face. Part of it is, though, because I can't see, so I'm like usually squinting, and I guess people think that I'm giving them like dirty looks, but really, people, I'm just blind. But yeah, I did carry that anger for a really long time, and I wore that anger right out there for everybody to see, and I was not a pleasant person. And I worked in a job that made me angry all the time. And, well, again, the job didn't make me angry. I was angry, and the job pushed my buttons. And the people there pushed my buttons. But it was before I really started to do any work. And maybe if I worked there now, it would be very, very different. I don't know that, but I would like to think now that I have identified some stuff that's going on with me. If I worked there now, I would handle things a little differently, or a lot differently. But I work now in a location where someone still pushes my buttons. And again, it's not her that made me angry. I was already angry. The anger was already there. She just pushed the right button for it to come out. So the last little thing that I have is, again, it's about anger. But, and I think I showed you guys this. I don't know. But in our toolkit this month that came is a mirror. I'm pretty sure I showed it to you the other day. Look, I'm a ghost. I have no face. Anyhow, So a lot of us our anger our anger is a mirror. So again, it's like, what does that mean? But a lot of things that make us angry, when not necessarily like when my boss comes to me and says something, not necessarily like that, but if we see things that make us angry, or somebody's doing something that we see that makes us angry, kind of turn that around and be like, why does that make me angry? And one of the things I hear a lot in my classes is that it's a mirror of us. Same with like our judgment. And this is not directed to anybody, but it's just an example. But if you see an overweight person and you're like, oh my God, look at her. And really, that's a mirror back at me, because I'm insecure about my body, because my body, I'm overweight. I know I'm overweight. My body is not where I want it to be, but I'm reflecting that to her, so that I feel better about myself. Does that make sense? And our anger kind of works the same way. Like if somebody's doing something that makes you angry, what is it that makes you angry? And is this something that you yourself have kind of done or done something similar? So it's easier to be angry at that person than it is to be angry at yourself for doing it. Kind of like your guilty conscience, kind of, I guess, would be maybe a good way to put it. But yeah, when you see things that make you angry, Facebook is a cesspool of anger. But when you see a post that makes you angry, before you comment on it, kind of sit with it for a minute and really think about it. Like, what is it in that statement that made me angry? And is that somehow reflected back on me? Because it probably is. So think about how it relates back to you before you comment. And then if you want to comment after that, maybe your comment will be very different than what you thought it was going to be. Then I wrote, everything is a lesson for us. One of the things Athena said, which has really stuck with me, is life isn't happening to us, it is happening for us. So everything that happens to us is a lesson. There's a reason. And I know sometimes that seems really shitty, because some of us have had some really crappy lessons. And it's like, why do I need to do this? But there's a reason. Everything that we go through makes us come out better and stronger. I link back to Angel and Mason's dad, my kids' dads, their dad, and I think, why did I ever do that to myself? I got my children out of it, so I would not change that. But he was part of who I am today. Without going through what I went through with him, I would not be who I am today. Now, a lot of anger comes back to him. A lot of throat chakra stuff comes back to him. But again, it's mine. He was just kind of the lesson for it. And I had to work through it and come out being, I could either choose to come out and be worse, or I could choose to come out and be better. And I think I chose to come out and be better. I'm hoping that I'm better. I feel like I'm better than I was back then. And lastly, for this is, again, get your natal chart. If you are somebody, we all have anger. That's a given. Everybody gets angry. It's going to happen at some point if you're not typically an angry person. And I've heard people be like, I'm not an angry person. But I think that they're just a person that doesn't express their anger. They keep it in, because the world can really push our buttons. There's a lot of triggers out there, especially with social media nowadays. There's a lot of things that can really push our buttons and get our anger stirred up. So when somebody tells me I'm not an angry person, I don't really believe that. I think they believe it. I don't think they're lying to me, but I just really think that they haven't really identified that and understood it. So get your natal chart. I know I say it all the time, but I really do, really do think it is so important to get your natal chart and understand what's going on. And just because you get your natal chart and something like my Chiron, my wound is in my 12th house. It was in retrograde. It's a really crappy whole thing for me. But that doesn't mean I have to spend the rest of my life being angry. But it does mean I'm going to probably have to spend the rest of my life working on it. And that is something I have allowed. I've accepted it. And I'm trying really hard to work with all that. So get your natal chart. It's going to be an eye-opener for a lot of you. Lastly, the only thing not related to the anger and the shadow, but I did want to just say that tomorrow, the 18th, tomorrow, Saturn is going to go direct. So we're going to feel a little bit of an energy shift going on. It has been in retrograde, and it's going to go back direct. So there's going to be a little bit of emotional energy going on there for the next couple of days when that's going back into direct. But again, anger and shadow, it's definitely something that we all have. It's just something that we need to work on keeping in balance. And I know I've talked a lot lately about all this stuff we have to keep in balance. And, it sounds like it's like, oh my God, that's like work all day, every day. I have to be doing something. I have to be keeping something in balance. And the thing is it's really not that hard. And it's stuff that we can just do on the go. And so example, the other day, it's horrible, but it's my shadow. I saw a woman jogging the other day, and my first initial thought was, you better keep running. She was a larger woman. And immediately after I thought, that was horrible. That was mean. And first of all, you got no room to talk. You are not skinny, so shut your damn mouth. But then I also took it a step further and went, you know what, you should be encouraging her and taking lessons from her, because she's out making an effort. She's out jogging. What are you doing? You're sitting your ass in the car. So shut up. But it still comes out. It still pops up. And it's a work in progress. But I try to, as soon as I do something that is my shadow, in the class I'm taking it, they have affectionately named it shadow vomiting. Not sure I like that term, but that's what they've been calling it in my class, is when we start to shadow vomit, we got to stop and clean up the mess. So, yeah, try to put a funny, keep it upbeat and a little fun while we do some of this work. But I know like I said, I've talked about a lot of stuff that's a lot of work for, you got to keep this in balance and that in balance and this in balance and that in balance. And really, it's just being mindful of what we're feeling and why we're feeling it. And when you feel an emotion come up, or when you feel a stupid thought come up, or whatever it is, just take a second and, think, first of all, like, how would I feel if somebody said that about me? How would I feel if somebody did that to me? The whole do unto others as you do unto you kind of thing, But, yeah, sometimes I get judgy, and I know that. And again, it's a reflection back to me. I was judging her for being overweight when she's out making an effort and I was not. So really, who should be getting judged? Me, not her. she was out making an effort to do something about it, and I was not. But that's how our shadow pops up, and we just have to learn to interpret it and hold that mirror up and say, okay, what is it about me that really is what's going on here, and not the other person. So I think that's pretty much it for today. So I get to go to the dentist today. Isn't that going to be fun? No, I hate going to the dentist. It's part of that whole adulting muggle life that we have to do. All right, so I got lots of new stuff still that I haven't even opened. That's how busy I've been. I have magic mail that's not opened. Like, that doesn't happen. So, like, usually as soon as it comes through the door, I'm tearing it open. And that's been here like 12 hours. More than that, 16, 18 hours. And I haven't opened it yet. I've just been too busy. But I keep telling myself winter's coming and there'll be all kinds of time when I'm in the house and need projects. And all these things that I've been wanting to do, I can get done this winter. So I'm trying not to stress about it. All right, I'm gonna get going, go to the dentist. I hope everybody has an awesome day. Thank you for watching. Thursday, we will talk about Virgo, I promise. And then next week, we're going to talk about Mabon. We might talk about it Tuesday and Thursday. I'm not quite sure yet. What I'm hoping to do is kind of recap a little bit, because I have a video from last year on Mabon. Because I started my videos like in August or September. I can't really remember. And so like it was just those last couple months of the year. And I did talk about the holidays. I didn't talk about the zodiacs. I started talking about the zodiacs in January. So this year we were talking about zodiacs and holidays. But I did a Mabon video last year. So I kind of want to watch that one, and I might recap it a little bit, but I don't really want to. I'm going to try not to have it too much repeat information, because otherwise I could just play you that video from last year and not do a new one. But I'm hoping to kind of add to it, and I was thinking, so we do that on Tuesday, and I was thinking maybe on Thursday to do some kind of craft or go over some crystals or something, maybe setting up things you could do to set up an altar. I don't know. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but I want to do something on something for Mabon, whether it be an altar or a craft or something. I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like yet, but that's kind of what I'm feeling that I want to do. Make something. I don't know what yet. So, and yeah, so have an awesome day. Thanks for watching. I'm going to do the watch party replay tonight at 7. So I will send out all the invites again. I ask if you are watching this, give me a thumbs up. You can give me an angry face if you want. Just so I kind of have an idea of who's watching and what's going on. Or you could type in the comments just replay or watched or anything, just so I kind of know that you have seen the video and that you watched it. Kind of like to know that I'm not talking to myself. Although I do talk to myself and find it quite therapeutic. All right. I am off to the dentist. Yay. Have a great day. Be kind to each other. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. And be kind, right? Because your kindness could change your day, but it could change somebody's life too. So, and it's free. And it's free to be kind. So Spread that shit everywhere. Have an awesome day. Love you.